Welcome guys! Today's video is going to be the last in our Discover Blender series. So we are going to learn at last how to alter the objects we've manipulated so far and alter their shapes. We are going to learn all the tools we need to design complex objects, well, at least the basic ones required to do some interesting things in Blender. And last but not least, we will design our first asset together, which is going to be a street lamp. At the end of this video, you're going to be confident enough to follow all my other videos about creating your assets for your board games, because you will have all the basic understanding of Blender you need to follow along. So bear with me and let's jump into it. Manipulating objects is good and well, but maybe we want to do more interesting things in Blender, like adding our own shapes. To do so, we usually start by adding a basic shape closest to what we want to achieve. So if we want to make a road, we are going to add a plane. If we want to make a building, we are going to add a cube. If we want to make a planet, we are going to add a sphere, a street lamp, a cylinder, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to add a cube here, scale it up, apply its scale. And now let's alter its shape. To do so, you're going to use the most useful shortcut in Blender, that is the tabulation key. So use Tab, and you will enter Edit mode. And that's where you'll be able to alter the shape of objects. If you press Tab again, you will toggle between Edit and Object mode. Object mode is where you manipulate objects. Edit mode is where you alter their shapes. So a mesh in Blender, that is how objects are called. A mesh in Blender is made of three kinds of elements. It is made of points, lines, and surfaces. In Blender, they are called vertices, edges, and faces. At the top of your screen, you can see the count of those different elements for a cube. So it has 8 vertices, 12 edges, and 6 faces. We are going to manipulate those elements, as we saw, by using the same operators we saw in the previous video. And to do so, to switch between one element, one type of element and the other, you can use the icons here at the bottom of your screen to select either faces or edges or vertices. Or you can use the Control Tab shortcut, which is, in my opinion, more convenient. So if I select a face and use one of the operators we learned, I can grab it along the z-axis by 2 centimeters. All right, I can scale on the I can scale that face, sorry. All right, and I can rotate it on the z-axis. And now I have a new shape. All right, let's cancel all this. I can use the same operators on an edge, and I will get different results. Grab it on X, okay. Rotate it on the, let's say, y-axis, doesn't work. Rotate it on the x-axis. All right, and I have another shape. Okay, and for a vertex, a point, as it has no dimensions, you can't use, well, you can, but it won't have any effects. You can't scale it. You can't rotate it. All you can do is grab it. All right. So those are the three basic elements you can use. There is a fourth one. You can use in Blender. And it's called extruding. By pressing E, you'll be able to extrude parts of your mesh. All right. You can extrude faces, of course, and that's what you're going to do the most. But you can also extrude edges and vertices. Okay, I have created a very weird animal. So think of extruding as transforming a type of element into another. Let me show you what I mean. If I enter edit mode and start with a vertex, all I have here is just one vertex. Let me select it. If I extrude that vertex on the x-axis, for instance, I'm going to end up with an edge. An edge is made of two vertices. Now, if I extrude that edge on the z-axis, I end up with a surface. Okay, and if I extrude that surface, I end up with a volume. But as you remember, we started out with a cube. So a cube is going to be limited to the number of elements it has. That is 8 vertices, 12 edges, and 6 faces. If we want to create something more complex, we are going to need to add more elements. And to do so, we are going to use an operator called loop cut. We can press Ctrl R on the keyboard and it will outline a loop around the object. Now, if you scroll up the mouse, you'll be able to select more loops. If you scroll down, you're going to reduce the number of cuts. So let's start with 2. And as you can see, you can slide the loop around the object. But if you click the right mouse button, you will leave them where they are, and it will have divided the top edge into 3 equal parts. Okay? If I press F6, I can alter afterwards the number of cuts I get. Okay, now let's select the 2 top edges, grab them on the z-axis, and we have a basic barn. Okay? So that's pretty easy. So let me add 2 more loop cuts, one here and one here. Grab those edges on the z-axis to make something more round. And let's learn a new operator, which is the inset operator. You can access it by pressing the I on your keyboard, and Inset will create a frame around the surface you've selected. Let me do it one more time. I extrude that face inwards, Alt-click to select the outer ring of faces next to the one here in diagonal. If I click here, it will select that ring, and that's not what we want. So here, extrude that face. Okay. One more operator you can use is the bevel operator. For that, I'm going to select the outer ring of edges by alt-clicking here. Press Ctrl B, drag the mouse in the direction I want the bevel to be, scroll up the mouse wheel until I have the amount of bevels I want, and left-click to confirm. All right. Now, to have a better look at what we've just done, we can use a matcap. For that, I open the N panel, go into Shading, tick the matcap box and also the ambient occlusion box. Crank it up a bit to have a better look at our object. So now that we've created this barn, we can of course save it by going into File, Save As, enter a name in that field, choose the folder we want it to be saved to, and click Save as Blender File. But I'm not going to do that because I'm going to delete that barn and demonstrate how fast and efficient it is to create objects in Blender by using shortcuts, and why you should too. As you can see, I am just recreating the barn within seconds. And that's it. So using shortcuts in Blender is the way to go. Okay? Okay, so now let's delete the barn. As you can see, I have no remorse whatsoever. And we are going to create a street lamp, which will demonstrate what the 3D cursor is good for. So let me recenter it by pressing Shift S to play with the 3D cursor and place the cursor to the center of the scene. Add a cylinder, go into edit mode, enter quad view, okay, go in the front view, press Z to enter wireframe mode, select vertices, press B to draw a box to select all the top vertices, or C if you prefer to have a brush select. Okay, and as you can see, when I am in wireframe mode, all the vertices are selected through the object. Okay, now let's extrude everything, or rather grab them to a specific height. This one should be good. Place the 3D cursor by right-clicking anywhere, and I'm going to place it here, and we are going to spin all those vertices around the 3D cursor. To do so, I'm going to choose here at the bottom of the screen the 3D cursor as my pivot point, and by pressing Alt R, I will spin all the vertices around the 3D cursor. If I press F6 to change the properties of the spin operator, I'm going to enter a 180 degrees angle to have a better, to have a more complete spin. And now, if I extrude the last part, if I try to scale, it will scale according to the 3D cursor, and that's not what we want. Okay, we could, if we wanted to, use Shift S and use cursor to selected, and now if we scale things, they will be scaled around the 3D cursor. Okay, but we can change the pivot point again to the median point between all those vertices, and now if we scale things, they will be scaled around the median point of all those vertices, that is to say, the center of this circle. If I press Z now to go back into solid mode and tab, I can see that I have altered a cylinder to become a street lamp. We can go further by insetting. All right, extruding, insetting, extruding, and so on and so forth. Okay, you can select all those edges, make them a little bit more round. And we have a decent street lamp. I can use the 3D cursor, entering Shift, selecting that face, Shift S to place the cursor to the selection, go back to object mode, add a new mesh that is going to be a UV sphere, and now we have our 3D lamp. I can scale that UV sphere up, and it wasn't very difficult to create a street lamp in Blender. Or was it? Well, that concludes our series on discovering Blender. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below. And now you have on your screen now a preview of what we'll look at in the next videos. So please subscribe to be notified when I post new content, and I hope I'll see you then. Bye bye.